Hello friends, welcome to AQ by S YouTube channel. This session is a part of our quick revision series Prelims Atulya. In today's session we'll talk about fundamental duties and directive principles of state policy. In last two sessions we covered fundamental rights, and I would like to remind you that under Atulya program we have already covered ancient history, medieval history, modern history and geography. So in today's session, we'll focus on fundamental duties and DPSPs. So duties are obligations. First you must know about duties. Then we'll talk about fundamental duties. So duties are obligations. So when you live in a society, you're supposed to follow certain norms. And these norms are laid down by the society. So for the harmony in the society, for the peace in the society, for the stability in the society, you must follow those norms. So you are obliged to follow these norms, and these obligations are known as duties. Now we have 11 fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution, and these fundamental duties were incorporated through 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So remember the fact that originally these fundamental duties were not present in the Constitution. These were included through 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So there are 11 fundamental duties. And earlier, let me tell you, initially there was 10 fundamental duties. One more fundamental duty, it was added through 86th Amendment Act 2002. Okay, so through 86th Amendment Act 2002, this one more duty was added, and now we have 11 fundamental duties. Okay. Now there is one more fact that you must know is that a committee was constituted a year before this amendment, and that committee was Swaran Singh Committee. Now this is also very important. It can be asked in your prelims that Swaran Singh Committee was constituted, and this committee recommended the inclusion of fundamental duties. So this fact is another important point. Okay, so we have provided, I have included the list of the fundamental rights. There are 11 fundamental rights. Okay, so we shall respect our national anthem, we should respect our national symbol, we should promote the spirit of common brotherhood. So there are 11 fundamental duties. You can go through the list, just have little idea about all these fundamental duties. Now let's talk about DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policy. See, the makers of Constitution, they were extremely visionary. Okay, so they were aware of the challenges we were going to face. They knew that there were going to be certain challenges which we would encounter, and the biggest challenge was equality and well-being of the society. Okay, so these were going to be the biggest challenge to establish the society, to ensure the well-being of the society. Now the Constitution framers, they decided to include certain policy so the Constitution makers, they decided to include certain policies, and these policies are supposed to be followed by the government or by the legislators while framing the laws. Okay, so DPSPs, they talk about the policy direction. Just remember this point. So under DPSPs, guidelines were incorporated in the Constitution, and let me repeat one more time that these guidelines are supposed to be followed by legislators while framing the laws. Okay, now these DPSPs aim at establishing social and economic democracy. Like fundamental rights aim at ensuring the political democracy. And these fundamental rights, they focus on the individual. Okay, whether individual is getting the right to privacy, whether individual is getting the freedom of speech and expression. So all these fundamental rights, they target the individual. However, the DPSPs, they target the society at large. So well-being of the society, equality in the society. Okay, so remember, fundamental rights, they aim at political democracy. However, DPSPs, they aim at social and economic democracy. Now, there is one more fact, that fundamental rights, they refrain the government from violating certain rights, because individual, they have some rights and even the government cannot violate them. But DPSPs, they request the government to include certain policies so that we can ensure the welfare of the society. Okay, so fundamental rights here, there is this prevention. However, under DPSPs, there is request. Why did I say request? Because these DPSPs are non-justiciable. These cannot be enforced in any court of law. It means you cannot force the government to implement these guidelines. So legally they are not bound. So if you go to court and if you say that government did not implement that certain guideline, then court cannot do anything, because these are not legally enforceable. These are non-justiciable. Okay, so these cannot be enforced in any court of law. Just remember this point. Now remember, several efforts have been made to give effect to these DPSPs. Okay, right to education has been passed, minimum wages have been fixed, right to work has been provided under Mahatma Gandhi Narega. Okay, so many efforts time to time have been made to give effect to these DPSPs. Okay, so I have provided the notes as well. Okay, you can go through these DPSPs, and this is extremely important and can be asked in prelims. And just remember the relationship between fundamental rights and DPSPs. Okay, now let me summarize the entire lecture for you. Under fundamental duties, remember 42nd Amendment Act 1976, and remember 86th Amendment Act 2002. And then we discussed about Swarn Singh Committee. That point is also important. Originally, those fundamental duties were not present, and these were incorporated later. Just remember this point. And initially there were 10 fundamental duties. Later on, those fundamental duties increased to 11. Okay, under DPSPs, you need to remember that DPSPs aim at social and economic democracy. Okay, and another important point that you must remember is that DPSPs cannot be enforced. They are non-justiciable. They cannot be enforced in any court of law. Okay, and you can go through all these notes. We have comprehensively defined everything. These notes are enough for the revision. So that's all for today's session. If you have liked our initiative, you can subscribe our YouTube channel for more such videos. You can follow our social media platforms for daily current affairs content. So I'll see you in the next session soon. Bye bye.